Welcome back out into the arena as the quality pool continues. We know the identity of our first finalist, Shane Thompson, coming through. A tough match there against Callum Singleton, but lying in wait, two excellent players slugging it out for the second final spot. Stevie Dempsey, the player of the season pretty much a couple of years ago, run Tom Cousins so close at the top of the rankings. Couple of finals, couple of titles, squaring up against one of the most experienced English pool players of all time, Phil Harrison, prolific tournament winner. Maybe not had quite the last season or so that you would have expected, but still only just outside the top 10 in the rankings, and still one of the best players in the world. Mark Shepherd and Stephen Jamieson with you for this one. Good evening, Stephen.
Good evening to you, Mark. I'm really excited for this semi-final. Always such a big Stevie Dempsey fan. I think he's a wonderful player. But as I often describe Phil Harrison, Phil is your favourite pool player's favourite pool player. There is... I like what you said there. One of the most experienced English 8-ball pool players of all time. I'd be tempted to maybe say I don't think anyone has more experience than Phil. He really has been around this game for an awful long time. I've seen just about every single iteration of it. And when he started, the idea of sprinting around a table to clear 6 reds in 21 seconds would have looked as alien at the time as floating cars. But here he is, 30, 40 years on from when he first picked up a cue, and that's what he's producing in his quarter-final against Greg Batten earlier on today. Stevie Dempsey has had 2 goes at getting that red out. He gets it on go number 2 and lands absolutely plumb. Brilliant shot from the hammer.
Let's have another look at this shot. This is the key to this frame. Catches the other yellow on the way through, but still gets enough of the one that he's targeting. That could not have worked out better.
Yeah, he's had a little bit of run, let's be honest. That wasn't exactly how he'd have designed it out, but he knew going into that area good things could happen. Well, that's a stunner. I can't believe what I've seen there. Just thumped it into the far jaw, just caught it almost plumb straight, no angle on it.
Yeah, almost took it for granted, maybe after a great previous shot. And that's normally what he's very good at not doing. I've seen him have to really grind through some of the previous rounds in this tournament. He's just been so relentless. Phil Harrison loves this kind of thing. Little counter clearance when your opponent misses. He's made a career out of clearing up from these positions.
Yeah, I mentioned Phil coming through via 6-red shootout in his quarter-final. Stevie Dempsey came through a similarly close encounter. He was on table number 2, came through 8-7 against Christy Caulfield. Tough one to take for Christy, who I know is playing really well. A big win for the hammer there.
Yeah, it was a crazy end to the match as well. Christy was 7-6 up. Stevie's attempting a counter clearance to get back into the match. And off his last ball, he cannoned full into the 8-ball, sent it shooting towards the corner pocket. Christy was on his feet thinking he was about to shake hands. Somehow the ball stayed on the table, which allowed Stevie to pot it and then took the match to a decider. I don't think Christy can still understand how he lost that match. As he so often does, Phil Harrison going about these balls. Obviously not the most difficult when you take your counter clearance, but still, he's had some work to do. His absolute stock in trade is keeping tight control whilst clearing up from a position like this.
Yeah, and if you ever speak to Phil Harrison at these events, you almost get the sense that he can't buy a win. If you didn't know his results, you'd think he was struggling so much on this series, but he's still finding wins, he's still running deep in tournaments, but he's such an incredible perfectionist. He knows exactly how to play this game flawlessly, and he expects those standards of himself, and anything less than that is quite hard for him to deal with. He feels he feels like it's the most difficult game in the world. And actually, he plays some outstanding stuff in all of that.
Well, he's currently sitting at 11 in the rankings, he's dropped off the points from the 23 season. He's got the points from 24 in the start of this season when he hasn't had as much luck, and still he's only 11. I mean, it's been a very good performance, and he's always only a match or two away from playing really well and winning a tournament. And here he finds himself again in a semi-final, and with a decent shout of getting through. You'd feel like Shane Thompson has probably been the standout performer so far of this Pro Series 2, but either of these players in with a great shout. He's always had this very successful break. It doesn't look the best break. He doesn't hit it anywhere near as hard as other people, but always just seems quite effective somehow.
Yeah, and he's not particularly faithful with it. He's as it starts going against him, he'll quickly change. He was breaking from almost the corner pocket at one point today. I can't remember if it was his quarterfinal or his last 16 match, and I thought that was a strange break. It was his last 16, I think, against Declan Brennan. But he's not afraid to mix it up.
Red ball's in play.
Biggest thing for Phil is just managing the occasion a little bit. He still doesn't feel 100% comfortable in the arena environment. He's comfortable enough to win an event. I mean, he's been a Pro Series champion. This is not, it's not like the next gen boys we're watching right now. I mean, he is a legend of the game. He's won so many titles over his storied career, and some with Ultimate Pool as well in this new era. But he talked to Phil, and he talks about comfort and feeling good out there, and almost like the newfangled bits, like the stuff like the 15 seconds of shot he struggles with, the match clock, the beat. There's a lot going on that he just has to think about that he's not ordinarily used to. I think he's a player who quite likes to keep things as simple as possible, and anything added extra naturally adds a complication. It's not to say he can't, but he just doesn't feel comfortable on it.
The odd thing, of course, is he's actually quite good at it, because you watch him.
He's fantastic.
Something like a 6-red shootout. He says he hates it, and they're like, well, that was quite a good time though, Phil. Like, it's not a bad result.
Yeah, and if he's on the outside tables with no shot clock, you can see Phil taking age over a shot. But, that's his sort of natural rhythm. But he's one of the great visionaries in this game. He sees this game better than 99% of people ever. And so actually on a 15-second shot clock, when it comes down to playing a bit more on instinct, he's phenomenal. But he just doesn't feel comfortable.
One of the single most common pieces of feedback, if you have people who've watched his games when he wins, they say, well, he did get the easier chances, but it's time after time, it's exactly that vision. He just makes a way of it looking really easy, and it's not necessarily that it was, it's just he plays the right shots at the right time in the right way, as he lets me down by playing the right shot in the wrong way.
Yeah, he's just a long way short. He was asking an awful lot on that shot. He's reaching a bit in that clearance, in truth, Phil. And this is where he'll say he feels a bit foxed by the clock and painted into a corner. But he is one of the best off a cushion you'll ever see. And he'll fancy this. Not to be, though, for the farmer. So Stevie runs aground in frame 1. Phil breaks down in frame 2. Chance to square things up for the hammer.
Yeah, this is a good chance, isn't it? All the hard work done, ball split out. Just felt like that last shot that Phil ran into trouble positionally. It's obviously just slightly off angle. It seemed like running forward was going to be the easy way of playing it. Just obviously felt he was going to get an unwanted cannon doing that, which is why he tried to go the long way. Very hard to pick a winner of this match. They're very different players in some ways. I mean, they're similar in others. The sort of tenacity and the the focus. I would still say, based on what I've seen today, I'd have Shane Thompson as the favourite, not just against these two, but he's just seems to have been in such good form. He's got to semi-finals of both of the pro events. Took an incredible comeback from Ian Alley yesterday to knock him out, and then to his credit, he just got straight back on it. 8-0 against Christophe Lambert last night in this event. It's good all day. But Stevie Dempsey, what a competitor. 2 years ago when he had that season when he made the final 4 times, back-to-back one weekend, lost to Tom Cousins both of those, but then still found a couple of trophies elsewhere in the season. He's also the perfect example of somebody that almost like has a switch. He's such a light-hearted guy, so much fun off the table.
Yeah, agreed.
Such an animal on the table.
Yeah, he really does. More than just about anybody, actually. He just goes into game mode, and he is what the Americans in particular like to call a gamer. He really, really loves the competition. And he's very good at compartmentalising. Better than just about anybody on the tour, I'd say.
Yeah, and it's such a good skill because it means that he doesn't get distracted by bad things happening. He seems able to just put it behind him. And also, it doesn't take so much out of you. He's able to relax when he's not involved in a game. He's always having a laugh and a joke with people. But then when it's his turn, he's out in that arena with a steely will to win. He's done so much winning recently. He's been known as a good player for a long time, but just seems to have found that extra gear the last couple of seasons. Phil Harrison didn't have the best first tournament. Lost in the first round of Pro Series 1. One of those weekends where you lose in the first round of the first one and it can feel like the weekend's sort of almost done, but managed to regroup himself well. This Pro Series 2 carries exactly the same prize fund and same ranking points. So every chance for a very good weekend still for both of these players. Nickname the Hammer Stevie Dempsey. That gives you a clue to what this break's going to look like. And as he always does, absolutely hammers it. Ball's queuing up in that top right corner. Been a bit unlucky in truth with where he's finished up. Just effortless power. Straying close to the corner pocket, but never in any danger with the white. 2 yellow balls and a red down. What can he see though? He definitely can't see anything this end of the table. Does this red pass the black?
Extension call.
Yes, it does.
Red ball's in play.
Decent start. He's obviously got the issue at the bottom of the table, but the fact that there's a red near to the cluster of red and yellow means that he's got an easy route into it. Looking for an angle on the bottom ball. If he hasn't got it, he can use the ball in the centre to regroup and get a different angle. Ideally, you'd like to just flick the yellow here. He doesn't want to be knocking into the red because that could go safe. Just a little gentle cannon off the yellow, exactly like that. Couldn't really have hit that any better. To play it quite hard because he didn't have very much angle, so he's trying to force the white over. When you're playing with a very heavy cue ball like that, it's easy to overhit the shot, but just timed it nicely. You can play these balls either way around, really. The two at the bottom of the table. It'll be bottom corner first, then left middle. Again, a very accurate cue ball, just off straight with the low angle. Just allows him to drift the cue ball naturally up towards the red at the top of the table. Just wants to make sure that he's just off straight. This red that he's just eyeing up to the top right corner, which will be his last red. Just wants a bit of angle so he can naturally come out for the 8 ball. Just come a little bit straight, but should be fine. Just run on and off the side cushion. It's actually pretty perfect. I think he's got a nice natural angle to come on and off the cushion. Well, natural if you hit it at that pace. To cue it accurately, but very nicely done from Stevie Dempsey. Very efficient clearance that was. Hammer break. Could only see one red ball, potted it, made the clearance. Edges ahead by a single frame for the first time in the match. Playing a race to 8 as we have throughout. A long way to go, but obviously nice to get off to the good start. He sits in his chair contemplating the table. He's going to feel a bit happier than he did a couple of frames ago. Let slip that first frame, but has made good amends for it ever since.
Frame 4, Phil Harrison's break.
So Phil Harrison, chance to go 2-0 up, let it slip, now finds himself behind as he steps up in frame 4.
Monday Night Madness. But no joys on the Pro Series for the golden break for Phil Harrison. This 8 ball's going to come up, and I don't think another ball went down, which will herald my least favourite rule in international 8 ball rules. And it means that he doesn't get the next shot at the table. Although, on this layout of all layouts, I think Phil Harrison is more than happy to not have first shot here, because I think Stevie Dempsey is on absolutely nothing.
Feels like we've actually seen a lot of 8 balls potted off the break. I feel like I've been explaining that there's no golden breaks multiple times this weekend. And of course you have a competition where that rule is in play and no one makes one. So Stevie Dempsey's doing something that doesn't come naturally. He's messing up the table even further.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say which colour set's really even ahead, to be honest. They're both pretty messy, they both have problems. Phil Harrison, one of the greatest ever at picking apart these problems, though.
Yeah, he's also one of the greatest at knowing when to do it. He's not going to go for something silly. If he feels like it's best to play cagey, he'll do that. Still an open table at the moment, so the decision is whether he wants to commit to a colour set before he starts the safety game, if that is the way he goes. The single ball long potting is probably the weakest suit of Phil's game, always has been. Normally what he's good at is staying in position so he doesn't have to play a long pot. He can do it when he needs to, but that's the kind of shot that a lot of top pros would knock in. Comes up short, although he's not going to be too unhappy that he's not having first go at the table. There's only one problem ball though. The fact that Phil's not that yellow that he missed up the top of the table is quite useful to Stevie because it gives him more options at the top. Can go into it here if he wants to, off the ball to the top left-hand corner. Didn't want to hit that too hard. He played that in a nice controlled way. Needed the spin to take effect quickly, so had to play at a sort of medium pace. It's in good shape now. Everything in open play for him. And that's how costly that mistake from Phil in the second frame has proved, because Stevie had just made the one mistake up until that point and had been sat down, whereas now it feels like we've been watching a lot of Stevie at the table. Don't think he exactly needed a warm-up because he's been playing all weekend, but to the extent he needed to settle down into the match, that's certainly happened by now. The precision of the cue ball continues. It's a different style from Phil Harrison, but both of them have got in common that they're both very good at the positional side of the game. Wasn't so long ago we were saying this table looked messy, but the one miss from Phil slightly tied it up, and then Stevie's taken it from there. By their own standards, it hasn't been a lightning quick start to the match. We've got 17 minutes down already. So we'll be the fourth frame in the books. Been a very solid standard of match play pool though.
Yeah, but they've got to be a little careful, these two, just to keep the pace up. Given what happened in the last match between Callum Singleton and Shane Thompson, where the clock dwindled quite quickly. Let's take a look at the Challenger Series Tier 2 final.
Big moment for both of these players. This match live on the Ultimate Pool YouTube channel if you do want to catch the coverage of that, or you can obviously watch the replay of it later on. Nice to have the 3 Challenger finals in a row. Gets the exposure for those players. Those Challenger players have all worked so hard. It's obviously not the same quality of field as the Pro final, but just got to come through so many matches to get to this stage. So many potential banana skins. Sean Hackett here, 2-1 to the good already. And this is pretty much perfect. Natural angle on the ball to the left centre. Cue ball going down towards that red. Either stop short of the red or just bump into it. Just the gentlest of touches, always guaranteed. Pretty straightforward 8 ball. Race to 7 that match. Sean Hackett with that 8 ball takes a 3-1 lead.
3 frames to 1.
As we get back into the feature match, Stephen Dempsey at the table in the 5th frame, breaking off with a 3-1 lead. Wow, that ball dramatically threatening the pocket, but not finding its way in. But he has potted another red. So Dempsey with a chance to go back to back with the clearances off his own break.
Ball's in play.
Frame 5 of this semi-final, and Stevie Dempsey is looking to go 3 frames clear, and he's got a good chance to do so as well. I'm not sure if you can hear any giggling in the back of our microphones. We're currently sharing what actually is quite a large production room here at the Robin Park Arena in Wigan, and right over on the other side of said room is the commentary station for Table 2, of where I can only describe Tony the Basher Holgate has lost his mind. It's finally happened. The marbles have fallen. And Tony Holgate has given he and Simon Webb a serious case of the giggles. So apologies for that, everyone. That's the noise you can currently hear. As Stevie Dempsey goes 4-1 in front. All fun and games. It's been a long weekend here at the Robin Park Arena in Wigan, and I fear some of our commentators have finally lost it. But me and you haven't, Mark, and that's the important thing. We're the real professionals.
We'll keep going. Simon Webb's had to leave the room. Tony Holgate's pretty much on the floor.
Not the first time he's been on the floor this weekend. He's struggling to last the pace.
Man, that isn't struggling though, is Stevie Dempsey, who's got his game face very much on.
Yeah, and do you know what? We talked about his ability to sort of compete and his competitive instinct. His stamina is unbelievable in that sense. The day can go as long as it wants, and Stevie will still be there, determined to win, still playing at a level good enough to get the victory. He really is an excellent all-rounder. And right now, Phil Harrison can't buy a ball on his break, despite that being hit perfectly. And Stevie's going to get first chance in frame 6 to go 4 clear. It's a good chance as well. It's a lovely break from Phil. He'd love a go at these. He's not going to get one. Stevie's looking at yellows. Looks like he may play a cannon first shot. Or is he going to slide by? No, slide by. He elects against it. And he's judged it perfectly. Middle pocket played big there, and he's just held up in time.
Yeah, right now, Phil Harrison just wants any go at the table, doesn't he? Feels like we haven't seen him play a shot in several frames. That's the way it can go. Talking about the pool gods punishing you. Made that one mistake in frame 2 when it looked like he was going to have a 2-0 lead. Ever since then, he's just been parked in his chair. Stevie doesn't mind that, though. He'd love a trip through to the final. I feel like Stevie's one of those players that just gets better and better as you get towards the latter stages of a tournament. Just loves the big occasion. Centre of attention out there in the arena. It's going to be a break after this match. Got the Women's Pro Series final. And then our final match of the night on this main feature table, live on Ultimate Pool TV, will be that Pro Series final. Shane Thompson against the winner of this match. Has been a long weekend of pool though. There's been so many tournaments in play this weekend. We've got the 3 Challenger Series finals in a row over on our YouTube channel for anyone that wants to see that. Challenger 3 final has already happened, but you can rewind and see how those two got on. We're in the middle of the Challenger 2 final, and then Challenger 1 final to come. Very impressed with the standard of the Challenger 3 final.
Yeah.
Particularly at the beginning, the first 4 frames were absolutely top draw. They wouldn't have looked out of place in a pro event.
Yeah, and the shot that Reece McLaughlin played to force the decider was, I know it was unintentional, but it was absolutely mad. I think Gavin did a really good job to hold himself together. Had a great run this weekend, did Gavin. I'm pretty sure he'll be the last time we'll see him in Tier 3 at least, after a run of a semi-final and a title. Tier 2 beckons, maybe even Tier 1 after that performance, but we'll see how it falls.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost the best possible result for him because he's made hay in Tier 3. He's probably got one chance. I'm not saying he was in the wrong division, but he's obviously a very capable player. He's had his one chance in that tier. He's going to be going up. Take some ranking points up with him. I mean, if he plays like that, frankly, you could talk about him as a promotion candidate into the pro ranks. It's hard to tell, obviously, when you see people play once or twice. I mean, he played great. Whether that was the top of his range, this was just a good weekend, or whether he'd say he always turns up with that kind of standard. He actually had a chance for a mad clearance before the shot that Reece played to win that. Gavin almost had a crazy, he played a sort of cocked hat double unintentionally out of a snooker and then almost doubled the 8-ball. That was for a chance to win. It would have been 7-5. It was a crazy end to the match generally.
Oh, Stevie's having some run, you know. Stevie's having a little bit of run. For as good as he's been, Stevie, he's not been pristine in this 5-1 run. And that there was a good example of just getting a little bit of luck after making a little bit of a mistake positionally. Oh, and speak of the devil. Yeah, hand up an apology. That won't help Phil's mood. Because every time he's watching this, he's feeling sicker and sicker.
Yeah, by Stevie's standards, he's made a real mess of that 8-ball, hasn't he? He's caught a thick jaw there. Normally that's going to stay on the table, but the runs with him just slid in. Phil Harrison usually gets a bit more away in his chair than Stevie does. Not actually by his own standards doing too much of the head shaking. But he's not going to be too pleased to find himself 5-1 down. Right now, this is exactly what Stevie wants, because it's a straightforward run through to the final, and he hasn't really been extended too much. I mean, he's played some good shots, of course, but probably feels like there's a bit more to come, which he could save for a final if he can get there. Where he has been good is this kind of position, when he steps up to break. He's just got such a powerful break. 2 breaks ago was the best one we've seen of the match so far. His last one, good but not as good. What's he got this time?
Oh, he's breaking beautifully. Making balls. Work here though. That cluster right where the cue ball is a pain.
And you couldn't begrudge Phil a chance at the table, could you? He's been frozen out without really doing a lot wrong so far in this match. Not saying he's necessarily going to get it, but this doesn't seem like an immediate breaking clearance chance for Stevie. Plenty of time remaining. The fact that Stevie's upped the pace in the last couple of clearances, just over half the match clock, so time for Phil to get himself back into it should he get the chance. Don't imagine Stevie's got any intention of leaving anything easy, and in fact he's not got a chance of even handing the table over.
Wow. Great shot.
Yeah, I thought when he was first looking at that cluster that he was just figuring out how to tie Phil up in them, but after a while he figured he's got a route to pot one. Well, as he sits looking on, Phil Harrison's going to be fearing the worst, not just for this frame, but for the match generally, because Stevie does seem to be building up a head of steam now. Very imposing presence at the table, isn't he? Just looks like he means business the whole time. It's just not one for the careless mistake. You just don't see him on a clearance like this thinking, oh, he's going to miss one. Actually came closer than you expected in the last frame with the 8-ball, but it did still go down. Just always looks laser focused. Still in the 30-second shot clock portion of the match, so we're not going to hear those beeps too often. Stevie had spent quite a while weighing that shot up though. And that's a really well thought through shot.
Yeah.
That red in the middle of the table was playing very large, whichever way he went with the 2 yellows.
It's a really clever shot, that, isn't it? It's a nice little touch from the hammer.
It's a shot that a lot of people wouldn't think of. A lot of people would have been there thinking, do I want the bottom or the top yellow? And they'd be focused purely on the yellows. But he thought, if I just get that out the way, then it doesn't really matter which way I go with the other 2 balls.
Yeah, he's an incredibly clever player, Stevie. He's a very bright individual, you know, just at large, really. But the way he approaches the game, I've always thought is excellent. Yeah, a little puff of the cheeks. He played that a little on the straight side. But he's flying here as the hammer. 6-1 in front. And Phil Harrison has been frozen out of this semi-final so far. Just want to take you over to table number 3. That's Teresa Evans against Louise Maher. This is the Challenger Series Women's Plate final. Final. Easy for you to say, Mark. It's Louise at the table in this race to 5, and she's 3 balls away from taking it down. Well, those 3 balls right now look like boulders for Super Lou. Theresa may well get a chance in a moment to peg that one back to 4-2. In the Challenger Series main event for the women, Kirsty Clugston has made the final. She beat the 11-year-old superstar in the semi. Amy Price has also made the final. That's on immediately following the plate event. Phil Harrison is dry again. He's frustrated. Number 1, because he thought he'd gone straight and off, and then when he hasn't, he can't believe he's not made a ball. It's tough out there.
Yeah, it's tough. It's just so hard to rationalise, isn't it? One day you turn up, you break like that, it turns out fine, and you get loads of chances. He's just thinking, like, this just doesn't feel fair. It's been all Stevie. But then at the same time, you've got to accept Stevie's played really well. He's kind of made some of these chances. And if you think where the balls were after that last break from Stevie, what's particularly tough for Phil is that he'd have been looking at that table thinking, oh, this is finally my moment.
Yeah.
Then Stevie pulls out that miracle first shot and doesn't even get a chance.
Yeah, and that's a lovely route he's picked here. You can I love when a player plays 2 shots and you can just see the entire frame then in full HD, essentially. Really, really lovely little route this from Stevie Dempsey.
And it wasn't a route that was kind of a real no-brainer. It would be very easy to think you just leave that ball over the right middle until later on. But actually, it wasn't helpful later on. You want to use it now and then go up the top. Then you don't have to travel back down this end at all until the 8th ball.
Yeah, he can pick his line off this shot. And, well, he's okay in a sense. This is now a tricky pot. But he wants to be on the one closest to the top right. And he did want angle on this so he can come on and off the cushion for the yellow to right centre next. So he did want angle, but he did not want to be tree-topped. It's now a much more difficult shot, and it might even inspire a reroute. Couldn't blame him if it did, because that shot to top right now is horrible. But he's taking it on. Or is he?
No, he's
going into the middle. Yeah, that was missable. And you see the reaction from Stevie Dempsey. He's so frustrated because he essentially knows that was the match. He wins that frame. He's got 1 foot and 4 toes in the final.
He's frustrated as well because that was a silly mistake. He'd done the hard work in that frame.
Yep. It's a really poor shot to leave the cue ball there. Really poor. And uncharacteristic, it must be said. Speaking of uncharacteristic, that really wasn't the greatest shot Phil's ever played, but he's got away with it.
The other thing Stevie's going to be frustrated about sitting in his chair is how badly that ended up, because he landed Phil on the only difficult ball on the table with an angle to get out. So now he hasn't got anything to do, really. He's made a bit of a mess of the first shot, but he's still on the ball to the centre, and there's still space down the right-hand side. You can play that red off the yellow into the bottom right corner, so every ball has a pocket. And this is what Phil needed. He's been at this game long enough to understand sometimes you just have to sit in your chair and watch, and sooner or later your chance will come along. And it's not whether you get the chance, it's what you do when you get that chance. And normally from this position he is absolutely brilliant. He's just so relentless. Go right centre, then the ball down the right hand rail, you would assume next. Look into the heavens, as he often does, but I think objectively this is a decent position still. He's annoyed because he wasn't a roll straighter on this, but really from where he is, well, I was going to say, it doesn't matter play it from distance, but decided he doesn't want to play it from distance, and he's played a very elaborate shot round the houses. It's turned out nice enough. I think a lot of players would just been dropping that in and then playing the ball down the right hand side. A lot of travel, but it's turned out well. from a neutral perspective, Phil needs to win this frame. If he doesn't, it's going to be very tough to get back into this match.
Yeah, next to impossible, really. There's still enough time in the match, but it's not really time that's going to be Phil's biggest enemy. Opportunity is a more considerable issue for him.
This will settle him down, though. It's been 6 frames since he won a frame. He won the first frame of the match, and then he's watched Stevie hit back with 6 since then.
Yeah, when you put it like that. Phil Harrison stops the rot. 6-2. As he takes a seat in his chair, it's time to go on the Magical Mystery Tour. We're going to check in on the Challenger Series Tier 2 final. Sean Hackett here is facing off against Stephen Small. It's Sean who's 4-3 in front. If you prefer to watch this over the match we're currently watching, Stevie D against Phil Harrison, you can do so in the company of Laughter's Tony Holgate and Simon Webb, who are thoroughly enjoying their time over on table 2. It's Stephen, I believe, here at the table, looking to tie things back up. Yeah, it is at 4 each.
Well, he's looking to tie up the score. He very nearly tied up his cue ball there, but he's going to have to go up the table. He's got the red that he's just cannoned into. He does still pot bottom left, but not the most straightforward to land on. As we get back, it's Stevie Dempsey breaking off in frame 9.
Now, if the pool gods are feeling vengeful, this is dry all day. Gets one. Massive. Massive. And do my eyes deceive me there, Mark, or did Stevie take what felt like that little bit longer just to control that break, like his life depended on it up the middle of the table?
Yeah, and he did it in the right way, because sometimes people, when they've lost a frame, they throw their shoulder at it and they throw a bit more onto it, but Stevie knows that's not the way forward. He just put it into extra focus, just made absolutely sure he hit it straight. Just wants to get a chance. While he's got his opponent parked so far behind, he just wants to make hay in this situation, get the match effectively won or close to won before Phil stages any kind of mini comeback. They're very different characters and different presence at the table. Phil Harrison isn't a sort of physical imposing presence at the table, but just the knowledge that he's your opponent is itself quite imposing. Because
yeah, different kind of aura, isn't it? Yeah, I'm with you. It's a great shot. I've always admired Stevie's game so much. And he's got a huge opportunity here to get his way back into a Pro Series final. Up until yesterday, Aaron Davies' victory, he was the most recent Pro Series champion. He won event 10 last season.
Yeah, what about that win last night for Aaron Davies? Real outpouring of emotion when you were out in the arena talking to him.
Yeah, it was lovely. I don't think there's anyone who'd begrudge Aaron that title. He's a very, very popular player. Such a genuinely, just nice man. And he's had quite a lot of nearly moments. And as he said to me last night, it's those nearly moments that make that feel even sweeter. Yeah, the reaction was really quite something, and you just simply can't begrudge a player like that who's put everything into his pool career in the last few years to finally take down the big fish.
It's a good lineup, that final, because whoever won for different reasons, but you'd have felt it was well deserved. Ian Alley had played such a part in the narrative of Pro Series 1, all those comebacks. And he's been a player that's been around, not as long in the Ultimate Pool scene, but he's been around winning things or getting close a lot of times. You can see how much it meant to him as well. It's going to be a different final here, because whichever of these two players get through to the final has got multiple tournament winners, so it's not going to be a first-time winner. Stevie Dempsey right now is looking the more likely of the players, though. 7-2 now in a race to 8. As he takes a sip of his drink, he knows he's got 1 foot in that final. Just got to win 1 of the remaining 6 frames. Very much hoping he won't be needing all 6 frames. He doesn't want to be part of one of those comeback narratives that we feel like we've seen all weekend. He just wants to get this done nicely, go and grab dinner or have a break for a bit, and then come back for that final later on tonight. Phil Harrison not been having a whole lot of luck off the break. As you say, he's been mixing up the break this weekend, and right on cue he comes right over to the side of the table. He's going with a different option for what could so easily be his final break of this tournament. And that time, the ball's flying in. All depends. Does that yellow pass top left? If it does, this is a great opportunity. Ooh, it's gone tight, hasn't it? It's just carried on rolling. It's going to have to be the yellows, obviously. Oh, how's this for a big first shot? Yellow offside cushion, off 8 ball. Oh, and he's missed it. That's a brave first shot to take. He didn't have to play that shot first. He could have played a ball further down the table, guaranteed the yellows. That's really taking the bull by the horns. And now he's missed it. The balls are all there for Stevie Dempsey to book his place in tonight's final. He'd be very surprised if we saw Phil back at the table. Now he's played that one shot. That was the only shot that was required. But the fact it hasn't gone in, he's done all the hard work for Stevie. You always want to get it done at the first time of asking, don't you? 7-2 sounds a commanding lead, but it's kind of pro level. It can change so quickly. You just don't want to get involved in anything silly.
Yeah, and he will be absolutely overjoyed here to get out early before even a 15-second shot clock threatens to come into consideration. He's still got a fiddly finish at the top to take out. This isn't a done thing yet. But Stevie is almost there. I can tell you that
Extension call.
Louise Marr has got over the line against Teresa Evans. That was the ripple you just heard a moment ago. So congratulations to Louise. She is the women's plate winner in the Challenger Series. That's beautifully played. Beautifully played. 3 shots away. Okay. He might just have to accept an annoyingly tricky 8 ball considering what he should have. But he should be okay. May even be able to punch out. No, not much. But this is it.
This is the 62nd frame of pool Stevie has played en route to this semi-final. Just this 8 ball stands between him and a place in tonight's final. This has been a good performance from Stevie, just making absolutely sure of this 8 ball. Doesn't want any mistake. This has been pretty flawless up until now. And it's complete. The white is safe. Warm handshake from Phil Harrison. In the end, possibly not the most difficult to defeat to rationalise for Phil Harrison. He just didn't get enough chances there. Made a mistake in the second frame of the match. Had a chance to go 2-0 up. Maybe it would have been a different story. But once Stevie Dempsey got going, he was dominant, as he's been so many times.